Hey guys, it's History Behind the Warrior and welcome back to another Mortal Kombat 11 video. Now in today's history of breakdown and analysis, I'll be talking about none other than the Kythinn monster, D'vorah. Now D'vorah is still a relative newcomer to the series, as she did make her debut in Mortal Kombat X, in of course the rebooted timeline. So for this video I'll be talking about her involvement in Mortal Kombat X, the MKX comic book series, and finally Mortal Kombat 11. Now just before we start talking about D'vorah, let's quickly touch on the Kythinns in general, as they still are a new race to the series, and one that I find very interesting. Now the Kytinn in fact descend from the island realm of Anya. Now not too much is really known about this realm, as the lore of it has never truly been explored. However, we do know that in this society, that there is a queen at the very top of the hierarchy, that being Al-Shavar. Now it seems like a lot of influence for the Kythinns have come from actual hive minds, where there is one queen sitting at the very top, and there is a bunch of worker drones beneath her that seek to protect and work for her. So I believe that this mindset can be applied here. Now the Kythinns as a race have a very bad reputation, being known for their sadistic and cannibalistic nature. The Kythinns could be seen as nothing more than brainless monsters by other realms. Now although they could be seen as that, they were far from mindless, being very smart with how they expanded their hive. See, the Kytinn wouldn't exactly kill their victim. They would leave them barely alive or unconscious and inject their bodies with larval chitin. From here on out, the bugs would literally eat their way out and gain abilities and traits from those it was grown in. This is in fact a very unique trait amongst the Kytinn, so they may take a different physical form or gain new abilities depending on the host's body. Now due to their nature of constantly wanting to expand the hive, the Kytinn wish to expand their control from just the small island of Anya, and many relocated to Outworld, killing its locals and breeding new Kytinn. Now it wasn't long till they could be seen as the apex predator of the food chain in Outworld. Although it isn't well documented, it's believed that in between the time of Onaga's fall and Shao Kahn's rise to power, the Kythinns would rise to become the dominant race in Outworld and try their hand at taking over. With the at the time queen Al-Shavar, it seemed like they were going to usurp the throne, but Shao Kahn proved to be far too much of a formidable force for them. Growing in strength and power, Shao Kahn was able to fight off the Kytinn hive and force them back to their island realm of Anya, but not before the Khan could get his hands on Al-Shavar and kill her in cold blood in front of her people, sending a message to the Kytinn of his ruthless and powerful nature. Now it's from this point onwards where the Kytinn had developed their very protective nature of the hive. Shao Kahn is the individual responsible for this, so it's why D'vorah always mentions how she wishes to protect the hive. But it didn't quite end there. You see, although we do not know the finer detail, we learned that Shao Kahn was able to conquer and invade Anya, merging it with Outworld as he killed many of them. The only individual that was able to hold her own ground was in fact D'vorah, and this somewhat impressed Shao Kahn. Now knowing what was in her best interests and a way of sustaining the existence of the Kytinn, she would offer her services to Shao Kahn and become his servant. But she is a Kytinn first, and secondly a servant of Shao Kahn, because at one point under his control, she does try to create a Kytinn hive in Outworld, but once Shao Kahn learned of this, he would incinerate it, sending a message to D'vorah that he did have his eyes on her. Now not much is too known about D'vorah from this point onwards. We are aware that she was a member and part of the Edenian invasion, and it was somewhat teased that she was apparently responsible for killing King Jared, but at this point who hasn't, and that she was around during the events of Mortal Kombat 9. You see, after Shang Tsung was defeated and Shao Kahn decides to hold a tournament on Outworld's home turf, he would have the White Lotus Society be attacked by a Tarkatan horde during Liu Kang's coronation, so the Earthrealmers were caught off guard. Now many were killed during this battle, but the Tarkatans did take a few monks slaves, and thus began to ship them around in Outworld's docks. Now whilst D'vorah is interacting with Baraka, discussing what they should be doing with the slave, they would be attacked by Raiden, Kung Lao and Liu Kang, and despite D'vorah's best efforts, she proved to be no actual challenge for the Thunder God, and thus was defeated. Now D'vorah's whereabouts during the end of MK9 are completely unknown, as she only resurfaces after the fall of Shao Kahn. Now when Shao is defeated, the title of Khan falls into the lap of Mileena, so she picks up the title and wishes to do her father proud, but unfortunately this is at the expense of Outworld. You see, Mileena turned into a far more ruthless tyrant than Shao ever was. She was effectively ruining her own realm at her own pleasure, and because of this many stood against her, but D'vorah for a very long amount of time would in fact remain loyal to Mileena, that is until she's called into a meeting with Reptile and Kotal Kahn. Now at this point in time, Kotal could be seen as the best individual to take over the mantle of Kahn. He was known for being a strong yet considerate Confederate leader, and thus because of this, earned the respect of many. However, this did put him in the crosshairs of Mileena, so during D'vorah's meeting with Kotal, they would be attacked by Mileena, Ermac, and a group of Tarkatan, with Baraka being amongst them. Now during this skirmish, Kotal was able to emerge victorious, and D'vorah kills Baraka, thus eliminating one of Mileena's generals. So from this point onward, Kotal would earn the title of Khan, and become the new ruler of Outworld, forging a new future for the realm. D'vorah would become one of his generals and his advisors, and thus a new age of Outworld would flourish, creating a better home for its inhabitants. Now let's get on to the Mortal Kombat X comic book series. The Mortal Kombat X comic book series takes place about a decade and a half later after Shinnok's defeat. Now in between this time, Mileena has managed to escape Kotal's grasp, and the two are waging a massive battle against each other, with Kotal fighting from Zunkara, Outworld's home capital, against Mileena, who is now on the outskirts of the realm. Here she's able to hold the line with allies like Reiko and Goro, and the bad blood between the two has only gotten worse over the course of time. Now when Kotal and D'vorah realize that this battle won't end anytime soon, they travel out with Erron Black in the hopes of having Earthrealm assist them in taking Mileena into custody. But upon entering the realm, they are arrested and questioned by the special forces, with Sonya attempting to interrogate them. Now tensions do reach an all-time high, and a fight does break out, but Raiden is able to stop this, speaking to Kotal and asking why he's here. Now after D'vorah and Kotal explain the situation, Raiden sympathizes with them, but turns them down, and this somewhat sours their relationship, as at the end of Shinnok's invasion, Raiden had promised Kotal that a better relationship would be built between the two realms. So Kotal and D'vorah return back home empty-handed, and the two continue their battle against Mileena. As time passes by, more and more innocents are being caught in the conflict, so Kotal realized that he needed to find Mileena's hideout. Now although he was somewhat successful, it was at the cost of his father's life, as Kotal Ketz would be killed by Goro, and thus the blood feud would reach an all-time high when Kotal attacked Mileena's fortress using a Kamidogu dagger, unlike that of the original timeline where the Kamidogus were simply amulets. The Kamidogu daggers in this rebooted timeline have all been cut and tainted by the blood magic of the one being, so whoever wields the dagger and cuts themselves with it is imbued with incredible strength. So when Kotal attacks Mileena's fortress, he is able to disarm Goro and horrifically burn Rain. Now sadly, when he arrives at the fortress, Mileena is long gone, so he, D'vorah, Reptile, and Ferrator sadly begin their journey back to Zunkara empty-handed. But out of nowhere, Kotal is shot, and before D'vorah could act, she's held at gunpoint by Sonya Blade. You see, what had happened is that during their last interaction, Cassie Cage and Jackie Briggs had been kidnapped by the Black Dragons, with Erron Black amongst them. And of course, since Erron Black is associated with Kotal, they wanted answers. But it's here to the shock and surprise of D'vorah and Kotal, where they come to realize that Erron Black may have in fact turned convert. So Outworld and Special Forces somewhat forge an alliance in order to get answers, and this brought them to Outworld's jungle. And whilst tracking the footsteps of the Black Dragons, they come across a bloody and beaten Erron Black, who reveals to them what had happened. You see, Black attempted to create a deal with the Black Dragons that would help sell off the girl, but due to interference from the Red Dragon, a massive fight would break out, and he would be attacked by Mavado. So he's unfortunately unable to relay any more information to the Special Forces regarding the location of Cassie and Jackie. Now D'vorah would take Erron Black to Kotal's feet for judgment, and he would be spared, but as punishment for his betrayal, would be imprisoned. Now before they're able to help the Special Forces anymore, Zunkara would be attacked. You see, Goro's father, King Gorbak, was disgusted at what Kotal had done, seeing it as a great dishonor and personal attack. So he would assemble his Shogun army to take down and destroy Zunkara. So a massive war would break out between the two sides, with D'vorah killing many Shogun in this conflict. Now unfortunately, they did fall on rather desperate time, and thus employed the Black Dragons to work alongside them, and with the WMDs they had, the scales easily tipped in their favor. Now with Gorbak dead, Kotal would forge an alliance with the Shogun, saying that they were used as nothing more than pawns in Mileena's plan, and thus an alliance would be made. Now here are where things take a rather quick turn. You see, Johnny Cage and Sonya Blade would learn of the location of Cassie, and as a sign of goodwill, Kotal and his forces would accompany them to track down their children, who were located at Shang Tsung's island. Kotal himself had caught word that one of Mileena's generals was stationed there, Reiko. Now upon arriving at the beach, they would be confronted by Reiko and his forces, but no Mileena. You see, behind the scenes, Reiko had been plotting behind Mileena's back, wishing to acquire godhood through the use of blood magic. His advisor, the Chaos Cleric Havoc, said that if he were to taint those with the blood code and bring them to the island for a ritual, then he would transcend the mortal plane. And as expected, the two sides would clash, with Sonya and Johnny taking on Cassie and Jackie, Jackie, whilst D'vorah and Kotal took on the likes of Scarlet and Reiko. The battle was nothing short of vicious, with blood being spilt on both sides. But in the midst of this conflict, Reiko, who had been tainted by the blood code, was able to get his hands on the Kytinn and seemingly rip her in half, apparently killing her. And after this, everyone would be struck down by a blood code corrupted Raiden and taken to the ritual chamber. Now, as this was being done, D'vorah was still rebuilding her body. You see, she hadn't actually died. Although she was physically torn in half, she had her bugs feast on the flesh remaining on the battlefield in order to rebuild her body. And upon finally regenerating back to a normal form, she was surprised to see Kintaro and Shiva arrive at the island. Now, with only a few allies at hand, D'vorah would use a portal stone in order to summon Ferrator, Eren Black, and Reptile to her side, as Kotal had now fully been tainted by the blood code, and a true plan was revealed. You see, although Reiko was no longer immortal, he was in fact a catalyst for Shinnok's amulet, and this was all a ploy put together by Havoc. So Reiko was killed in order for Havoc to obtain the amulet, thus giving him control of those that were cut by the Kami Dogu daggers. Now, during this fight, D'vorah goes toe to toe with Kotal and tries her best to have him regain his senses, but the Oztec is beyond the point of reasoning, and the two do clash, with Kotal almost killing her. But with some assistance from Hanzo Hasashi, Havoc is defeated, and everyone who is tainted by the blood code is released, allowing him to regain his senses, to which he then apologizes to D'vorah. Now, due to the events of what had just happened, an alliance is formed between Earthrealm and Outworld. Now, this isn't exactly the end. You see, during the last issue, D'vorah would travel to the Netherrealm and swear her allegiance to Quan Chi and Shinnok, as she saw the holes and flaws in Kotal Kahn's leadership, so thus to guarantee the Hive's survival, as well as the chance to build a new world for the Kytinn, she would work as a double agent for the Brotherhood of Shadow. So this brings us up to her game debut, Mortal Kombat X. Now, a fair few years have passed by between the events of the comics and the game, but nothing has seemingly changed in Outworld, with Kotal and Mileena still being at each other's throats. Now, D'vorah can be seen in the second chapter of the game, which is in Kotal's carriage, and they are currently striking a deal with Kano to gain more information about Mileena. But as they are discussing business, the carriage is suddenly stopped in the middle of the street, so D'vorah leaves in order to see what is going on. Upon seeing the blockade in front of her, she would be attacked by a Tarkatan horde. You see, this was all a ploy and a trap put together by Mileena, who was observing Kotal above the slums. Now, D'vorah is able to kill many Tarkatans in this fight, and Kotal proves why he's truly Khan, defeating the likes of Kano, Tanya, Rain, and even Mileena herself. But before he can deal the finishing blow to her, Mileena is somehow able to pull out Shinnok's amulet, and seemingly getting away with some assistance from Rain. So the big question right here and now is, how has Mileena got her hands on this amulet? As at the end of the Mortal Kombat X comic book run, it was left in the care of Earthrealm. So this makes Kotal uneasy, and when a team of Special Forces agents arrive in Outworld, they are told to turn back by Eren Black. Now, from what you can tell, this team is made up of Jackie, Cassie, Takeda Takahashi, and Kung Jin, as they themselves have learnt that Mileena is now in ownership of the amulet, and thus seek an audience with the Khan. Now, although they are initially denied, and a fight does break out, once D'vorah does appear, Kotal quickly does follow, and initially he wants the team killed, as they did break Outworld laws by interfering in a public execution. But due to trial by combat issued by Kung Jin, Kotal was forced to fight the Shaolin, and is defeated by him. But instead of Jin killing Kotal, the two decide to exchange words and join forces. Although D'vorah at this point in time is completely against having the Special Forces there. Regardless of how she feels, she must continue to keep up her facade in the hopes of obtaining the amulet herself. Now, after Cassie's team have settled in, they finally learn from the Special Forces headquarters the location of Mileena and the amulet. Now, D'vorah wishes to travel out there alone, but Cassie insists that she wishes to come along. Now, when the two arrive in the Kytinn jungle, they come across Rain and Tanya, and a fight does break out, with D'vorah defeating the pair, and does nearly kill them until Cassie interferes. Now, it's here where they do obtain Shinnok's amulet, but upon opening the chest, they would be found by Mileena, and D'vorah would fight the fallen Khan, and seemingly defeat her. Now, after this successful mission, she would not only give Kotal the amulet, but also bring Mileena to his feet, something that Kotal relished in seeing. However, he did not wish to sully his hand, and wished to reward D'vorah for her hard work. So the Kytinn would give Mileena a kiss of death, infecting her body with countless parasites that would consume her from the inside out, killing Mileena. Now, with Mileena gone, and the amulet freed from her grasp, Cassie and her team wish to return back home with it, but Kotal immobilizes them, saying that although he does trust Earthrealm, they have failed to protect the amulet time after time after time. So right now, he believes that the safest hands are his own, so he has them sent to the docks, whilst D'vorah escorts the transport of the amulet. However, fight here at the docks, where she reveals her true nature, killing 2 bodyguards and travel to Earthrealm in order to give it to Quan Chi. Now, upon getting to the Special Forces base, she is shocked to see it in disarray, as the Special Forces have been fighting the Shirai Ryu, and Quan Chi is being attacked by Hanzo Hasashi. Although she's able to injure Hanzo, it does not prevent him from gaining his vengeance, as he's able to force his spear through Quan Chi's chest and kill the Necromancer. But blinded by his rage, Hanzo didn't realize that Quan Chi had in fact undone the incantation on Shinnok's amulet, freeing the fallen Elder God once again. From here, Shinnok would knock everyone down and take Johnny Cage to the Sky Temple in order to infect the Jinsei. By doing so, he would acquire a new form and become stronger than he previously was. Now, whilst this is going on, D'vorah is holding Johnny Cage hostage, allowing her bug children to slowly but surely torture and consume Johnny. But it's not long before the temple is stormed by Cassie and her team, and D'vorah takes on the likes of Kung Jin and Cassie herself. Now, although she is able to gain the upper hand and injure Kung Jin, she would be defeated by Cassie, who would also go on to defeat the fallen Elder God. Now, with the threats over, D'vorah would be taken into Special Forces custody, but this isn't the last time we do see her. Mortal Kombat 11. Now, D'vorah does return in the 11th installment in the series, but she doesn't play too big of a role in the main story. You see, between the events of X and 11, when the Titan known as Kronika has grown tired of Raiden meddling with the timeline, she wishes to reset the universe in her own image. But due to how the universe is now, with many of Earthrealm's adversaries dead, she would call on allies all across time in order to guarantee the success of her mission, and D'vorah was one of these. Now, after merging the present time with the MK2 section of MK9, D'vorah is sent by Kronika in order to get Shao Kahn and his allies out of Kotal's Coliseum, as a fight has broken out there, so she is able to bring them to her incinerated hive. But it's here where tensions run high, as Shao Kahn's understandably very confused with what's happening and wants answers from D'vorah. Now, D'vorah does give him a very brief rundown, but also mentions how she's killed Mileena, and this disgusts the Emperor. But before the two can fight, Kronika would emerge before Shao Kahn and fully explain what exactly was happening. Now, D'vorah's next appearance is in Jade's chapter. You see, Jade and Kotal are currently in the process of trying to track down Shao Kahn, and it does take them across the harsh lands of Outworld. But it's here where D'vorah springs her trap, having her bugs attack Jade and Kotal, splitting the two up so she herself can kill Kotal. And it does seem like she is gaining the upper hand, but Jade does interfere, and the two do fight, with the Kytinn being defeated by the Edenian. Now, D'vorah would make her final appearance in Scorpion's chapter, where she's currently in the Netherrealm torturing the immortal Kayron. As you see, Kayron did not wish to aid Kronika or get involved with the events at all, but due to this, Kronika saw him as an enemy, and thus he would be attacked and restrained. Now, as D'vorah relishes in Kayron's suffering, she doesn't realize Hanzo Hasashi has also appeared on the scene, so she's viciously brought on the battlefield, to which Hanzo and D'vorah do fight, and the Kytinn would be defeated. Now, luckily for D'vorah, a time-displaced Scorpion is able to interfere and prevent her from being executed, but the Scorpion would also be defeated by Hanzo Hasashi, and it's here where D'vorah would strike, attacking him from behind and poison Hanzo. But before she can deal the finishing blow, she would be attacked by Scorpion, who has now turned against Kronika and realizes that he's on the wrong side of this battle. Now, although D'vorah's appendages are cut off and she is fatally wounded, she is able to get away. Now, despite her retreating from battle, she is successful in claiming Hanzo Hasashi's life. But this is in fact the last canonical time we see D'vorah in the Mortal Kombat universe. We actually do not know of her fate from this point onward, as Kronika is defeated and Liu Kang and Kitana are now in possession of the Hourglass of Time, so it's up to them to rewrite history. We unfortunately do not know this Kytinn's fate, and only time will tell if we ever see her again. But this has been the history of D'vorah. I hope you have enjoyed this video and learnt more by doing so. I know that D'vorah is probably one of the most hated characters in Mortal Kombat right now, as she seemingly has the ability to kill basically everyone, but the Kytinns as a whole have always interested me. They're very unique to the universe, and D'vorah I feel is like one of those standout characters to have come out from MKX. She's a really interesting villain. I do hope we get to see her again in the future, so we can see someone deal the finishing blow to her, because she's killed so many characters and has been getting away with it. So I'm looking forward to things catching up with her. But until then, that will be it for this video. Once again guys, I do hope you have enjoyed it. So before this video wraps up, if possible, let's try getting it to about 500 likes. Also, do not forget to tick that bell, as it will keep you up to date with everything that's going on with the channel. So as always guys, please comment, like, subscribe, and share this video with everyone you know. Please take care, and I will see you all next time.